Typically, the Jubilee does not conduct press conferences or give interviews. As far as we're concerned, we don't owe the controlled media anything, especially an explanation for our existence. Further, after years of fabrications, distortions, links, ties, and liberal spins about Christian patriots, the establishment media has lost all credibility. The press is not invited to Jubilation conventions. Nevertheless, media hogs will typically wallow outside the convention hall, waiting to get that big interview with anyone willing to throw them a few scraps. Jubilation 96 was no exception. We decided, however, that with so many so-called news organizations clamoring outside to talk to and about Randy Weaver, we would take the opportunity to do a little educating. Namely, why we don't invite the controlled establishment media to our events. So, at 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon, April 6, 1996, we scheduled a press statement to be held in the parking lot of the Hyatt Regency Hotel. After all, we didn't want them to slop any mud on the hotel's beautiful carpet, now did we? That evening, we played the videotaped rendition to our banquet dinner audience right before Mr. Weaver took questions. The audience's response can be heard in the background. We hope you share their enthusiasm for this first-of-its-kind press statement.
Hello? Well, guess who called me the other day? A TV reporter from down in L.A. He said he heard a song a little while ago on some obscure talk radio show. Then he asked if I was the writer of the music I just mentioned in the lyrics above. But now that I look back at the wisdom I lacked, I probably never should have said too much. And as he pressured me to share with him a word or two, and we carried on our telephonic interview, a wee still voice inside my head was saying, "You're gonna be sorry for every word you just said." Then sure enough, right after he was through, he slandered and defamed me on the evening news. I should have listened instead to the voice inside my head, 'cause here's what it said to me. You don't go casting your pearls before swine, 'cause they're only gonna trample them into the muck and grime. And when they're through, they'll turn on you and burn you every time. So don't go casting your pearls before swine. And when I went off to sing a song in Washington, I was hounded by those dirty dogs at CNN, who said they wanted to do a favor for me by giving me a little free publicity. I should have never let them turn their lying cameras on, 'cause when the cutting and the editing was finally done, they put horns on my head by changing everything I said. They made me sound like the devil's own son. So you don't go casting your pearls before swine, 'cause they're only gonna trample them into the muck and grime. And when they're through, they'll turn on you and smear you every time. So don't go casting your pearls before swine. Now there's ABC, and then there's NBC, CBS, CNN, the New York Times, the LA Times, and the Washington Post are just a few of the most porkiest people. NBC called to let me know they were gonna use the music on a TV show. They were gonna use the song I wrote about the wrong that happened up in Ruby Ridge, Idaho. But then they got a threatening letter from the ADL that said, "You use that kind of music, we'll make your life hell." Then they dropped me off the show, and now I think I know why the music doesn't sell that well. So you don't go casting your pearls before swine, 'cause they're only gonna trample them into the muck and grime. And when they're through, they'll turn on you and rip you every time. So don't go casting your pearls before swine. No, you don't go casting your pearls before swine. I said you don't go casting your pearls to them sanctimonious media boys and girls. You don't go casting your pearls before swine.
So what was the deal here? It was a dog and pony show? You guys never intended to make any statements or anything?
Afternoon, 1992, in a remote Idaho location known as Ruby Ridge. Many of us could not believe the headlines that we were reading. It was an outrageous time. I'm sure that, I know for me, I remember when I first heard about the situation in Ruby Ridge. I know exactly where it was, and I know what time it was. It's something that will always be with me. In fact, I'll tell you where it was. We were on our way to Scriptures for America Bible Camp. We stopped off at a gas station to get some gas. I looked at the headline, and it said, Federal Marshal killed in Idaho. I thought, oh boy, here we go. I remember getting to that camp, and of course, everything the news article had said was not true. Pastor Peters had sent some people to the area. Did they ever make it, Pete? Did they ever make it up? Car wreck. They didn't make it, but we continued to get reports, and I remember at camp it was almost a 24-hour deal. We monitored this situation. We had people in the area that called, and we're keeping on top of it. We were keeping the situation in our prayers. No one really knew what was going to happen. Pastor Peters had called together special meetings, and a lot of the speakers had come, and we were discussing, is this it? What are we going to do? What should we do? Let's, obviously there's a lot of prayer. Well, we left Pastor Peters' camp and went home to read more headlines and watch a lot of things on our local television. And in fact, a lot of you around the country didn't get to see some of the things that were going on. Maybe just you read about it maybe on page 22, fourth column near the bottom. But of course, as the whole situation unfolded, we began to hear the truth. And I don't need to recap for you everything that transpired. Soon there was a trial. There was 2 men being charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Prosecution's recommendation, the death penalty. It was getting pretty serious. After all, the U.S. government is a force. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of toys. And boy, we were in the courtroom. You should have seen the paraphernalia and junk that they brought in there. Oh, man. They had everything. closed circuit TV. I don't know how much they spent on, models and exhibits, and it was really a fiasco. I think the final count wasn't $11 million they spent it was more than that, I guess. It was a lot of money from start to finish. It all began when they decided that they needed someone to rat for them, be a snitch. So they'd pick a guy that was minding his own business, wasn't bothering anybody, looked like, probably to them, he looked like just a good subject for them to go after. So they made him a deal. One of their agents came to him and undercover and said, hey, do this for us and we'll make sure you get some money for it. No problem. Well, like a lot of us, we all have hard times. Situation gets, where, hey, sometimes a man's got to do what a man's got to do to feed his family. Whatever. So Mr. Weaver decided to take the job. I'm sure he didn't plan on making a career out of it, But then later, this agent came to him and said, well, what do you know? Guess what? I'm not exactly who I told you I was. Now we'd like you to do us a little favor, and we'll just forget about all this illegal stuff you've been doing for me. The man says, no, thank you. I don't want anything to do with that plan. Next thing you know, he was facing death penalty charges. His family was ruthlessly attacked, came under siege by an out-of-control United States government. Marshal Service, FBI, black boots, thugs, people that looked like terrorists from Iran, throwing rocks at his dog to try to get his dog to take pursuit so that maybe, just maybe, the young boy would follow his best friend into the woods. Sure enough, the dog went for a little run to see what was going on. The boy and his friend, Kevin Harris, went to go see what the dog was doing. What the dog was, hey, could be some game. After all, it wasn't like the Weaver family could just run down to Safeway. So, the next few moments in history, I believe, was a turning point for this country and our people. When these men, if you want to call them that, these cowards, thank you very much, decided that they would put an end to this ridiculous standoff. They shot the dog that they had enticed into the woods. They proceeded to shoot his master in the back. Many lies came forward from that moment. Lots of misinformation. It took us quite a while to unravel it all, and we're still not really sure some of the details. But we know this. We know that we had one more American victim, one more family in the great United States fall prey to jackbooted thugs, ruining the lives of this family, altering them forever. But praise God, because little did they know that when that first shot rang out,
at little Sammy Weaver, and later at Vicky, that they had started a revolution in this country. Friends, I venture to say that many of you sitting in this room tonight would not be here if it wasn't for that incident that took place in Ruby Ridge in 1992. There are many more just like you around this country that remember this incident, and they too remember where they were that day. Things are going to change, my friends. This is the beginning for us. It is not the end. There is no doom and gloom. I see long faces many times. There's no need for it. Put on a happy face and know that Sam and Vicky Weaver did not die in vain. And I'm sure that they would be pleased with the results that have come from the whole Ruby Ridge incident. I wish they were here with us in person. They're here with us in spirit. They'll always be with us along with many other martyrs, such as those that lost their lives in Waco. And there'll be more. There'll be others. Some of you might not be able to make it to Jubilation 97 because some black-booted thug showed up on your front steps. Well, my friends, tonight, it is an honor for me to present you with the man that had the courage to say no to the federal government, a man who had the courage to say enough is enough, a man who endured much pain and suffering, but a man who is now ready to get on with his life, a man who is prepared to continue that stand, a man who I know has inspired many of you. He has agreed to come this weekend to answer your questions, and I'm sure to offer his thanks for your support through the whole nightmare turned blessing. Use your judgment, folks. This is a man that's gone through a lot of suffering. I know you have a lot of questions for him. Feel free to ask him, and quite frankly, if Mr. Weaver can't or does not feel comfortable with answering a question, he simply won't. You understand that. We have a microphone placed here in the front. I ask you to just form a line along the wall, line up here. Limit your questions to one, please. If you have another quick follow-up, fine. If you want to ask a second question, go to the end of the line so other people have a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, it brings me great honor to introduce Mr. Randy Weaver. Randy?
I came out here, folks, for the opportunity to thank a whole bunch of you in person at one time, because I'm a lousy letter writer, for all your support. on behalf of me and my daughters, and Sam and Vicki, we love you all. Thank you. I was having so much fun this weekend until the night. There was times, believe me, when I sat in jail, I knew what happened, I knew what the truth was, and missing Sam and Vicki and my daughters, and I'm telling you what, if it hadn't been for the support that I got from people like you, my daughters included, speaking for them, for myself, I might have died of broken heart. I'm serious. It was tough going. Your support, emotional, spiritual, financial, kept me going, and my daughters too, and I don't know how to thank you for that. I don't know what you want to hear tonight. I don't have time to tell the whole story about everything that I happen to know or can even remember. I'll tell you what, my mind has been through so much in the last 4 years. It's starting to come back a little bit, but so much heavy stuff on there, sometimes I'd forget a few things. But I couldn't tell you everything tonight anyway, so I'm just going to open it up for questions and try to answer the best I can, the ones that I can.
I'm sure all of us here, Randy, thank you for the job you did representing us in your testimony before Congress. We first heard the details of your coming down from Ruby Ridge from Bo Greitz. We heard of Bo Greitz and Jack McLam coming in and talking with you. I'm sure we'd all value from you personally the details of who was more instrumental and just what it was that persuaded you to trust your remaining family, and Kevin, to them, and to come down from Ruby Ridge.
What convinced me to trust him, you say, sir?
Yeah, well, particularly interested to know who had the major influence. Was it Jack McLam or was it Bo Greitz?
It was a real good combination of both. And also, it wasn't very long into what was going on, and we had all come to the conclusion that they were going to kill all of us. We accepted that fact. And as time went on and the negotiations with Jack and Bo went on, I got to thinking, maybe we should give up and come out, because I knew that they would come in and start shooting and all that. I'll tell you what went through my mind was, what if just my baby survived and they shot her through the spine and she lived the rest of her life in a wheelchair? Arm blown off, whatever. I didn't care about myself. I was ready. I just wanted to see one of them show his face is what I wanted. That's where I was at, and actually my older daughters were there too. But to see any one of my girls hurt and live through it and the rest of their life crippled up, that was one of the biggest things that made me say to heck with it, I'm out of here. But Bo and Jack were, combination and real big help. Okay.
Next question. Randy, they didn't say very much about your military career when all these things are going on. I wonder if you could tell us about your military background and your work with the Special Forces.
Joined the Army in 1968, went through basic training, Fort Polk, Louisiana, AIT, engineer AIT at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, Airborne School at Fort Benning, Georgia. Went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, went through Special Forces training. I completed that school in November of '69 and got my flash and was assigned to the 7th Special Forces Group, U.S. Army Special Forces, there at Fort Bragg, and I finished approximately 2 years I had left at Fort Bragg. Special Forces engineer. Nothing real eventful. I didn't leave the States, but kind of glad of that, actually, I guess.
Hi, Randy. Thank you for coming this evening. I'd like to ask you a question as far as the settlement that you received. Does that negate your ability to prosecute Janet Reno for her atrocities?
Prosecute who?
Janet Reno for atrocities?
I don't think there's hardly any chance at all. Yeah, that's it's said and done, as far as I'm concerned. My family.
The contract that you signed with
Yep.
the settlement?
Yep. Federal government's pretty much out of it, as far as what I understand.
Unless maybe we the people can prosecute?
Yeah, possibly in the future. I mean, that's there's some of them out there that need it.
Randy, have you ever been able to satisfy in your mind and soul the question of why? Why did this happen? Why did they do this?
I've had a lot of thoughts about that, and I think it was we were guinea pigs, and it was just a test of the New World Order, the new police system, and it's a scary thing. But with all the people that raised heck about it, it slowed them down, and they are worried about it. I believe that they have realized that there's people out here aren't the softies they thought they were, which is a good thing.
I've wondered since the hearings went on if our inspector's presence there was just, you know, bullshit, or if he was sorry. And if you really felt like he was really trying to do the job that he was supposed to for the American people.
Boy, I wish you'd asked Arlen that instead of me. Well, one thing about it, a lot of the truth came out over a larger area, you know, over TV and all that. And if it was a farce, I'll put it this way, I think it came out in our favor. They didn't, to me, those hearings and what came out from it and everything, when it was said and done, there should have been charges brought against certain people, and never has been. So in that light, it is a farce, or BS if you prefer.
We're going to hang them, Randy.
Randy, first off, I don't know if you realize, you probably already do, but I'd like to thank you for the great pain that you went through has made the rest of us flourish like a flower, man, a strong one. And I want to thank you and let you know that your pain has some great fruition in it.
Thank you.
loud. Beginning of the event here, Paul asked if there's any law enforcement agents in the crowd, and I didn't raise my hand, you know, and then the Holy Spirit started convicting me and said, according to Romans 13, those who uphold the ordinances of God are his ministers. So in that case, I think a lot of us are law enforcement agents. I just want to know two things. You said I can ask two questions and make it quick. I'm not with the government, by the way. I'm with the Lord Jesus Christ, no king but Jesus. Upholding his laws. And I think this is what the threat is to the bad guys. We understand God's laws, the Lord Jesus Christ's righteous laws, and we uphold them. And I think that's the main problem. I want to know if you know where we can send cards or letters to Lon Horiyuchi.
Do I know that you did?
Do you know where we can send?
Oh, do it? No, I don't. No.
You don't know where it might be?
You could probably send them to Janet Reno and she could get them to it.
And then the second question is, I heard through KSFO, it's a conservative station in San Francisco, that you were asked to somehow mediate for the free men over there.
I volunteered my services to go mediate. When I saw the first few news broadcasts about it, because they were all really negative, and those people, I know the position they're in, they need some hope. They don't need a bunch of garbage thrown at them and a bunch of lies said about them. It's not going to help the feds negotiate with them and make anything peaceful at all if the media is there lambasting them, making, you know, they're going to sit there and they're going to hear this stuff and it just make them harder headed and stiffer necked. I know what kind of, you know, I know where they're coming from. And so I wasn't going to go out and tell them anything, to do anything one way or the other. I wasn't going to go out and listen to them and just let them know that there was people that cared. Excuse me.
You're going to kill those guys? No. That's my last one.
Only if it's Yahweh's will, and I hope that it's not.
Randy, I'm sure that sometime down the road in American history, Ruby Ridge will take its place with locations like Lexington, Bunker Hill, and Concord. And it's a great privilege to share this evening with you. Like those types of great historical events, Randy, there grows a lot of myth and misinformation and half-truths. And one thing that has always been on my mind, I had heard that that the Idaho National Guard had been called up and that there had been some dispute whether the Guard members were in accord with the actions of the federal officers. Could you shed some light on that?
Thank you for your compliment, sir. I heard that rumor. I can't confirm it. I just, as far as I'm concerned, that is a rumor. I don't know. Maybe someone else in here knows for sure. I heard that they wouldn't let some of the Guard boys have their guns loaded. I don't know if that's true or not.
Randy, I appreciate your endurance through this ordeal. I want to let you know that your ordeal woke me up. And I had to search through half-truths. There's a lot of information out there, and some of them are bogus. And I'm quite confused as to what our responsibility is now, having come to the knowledge of a lot of the atrocities that are come against us as a nation and a people. How we can sit and maybe even perhaps
consider this to be entertainment as something to fill our time when we have brothers and sisters that are surrounded right now in the same incident that happened in Waco and at your house, and be it CPS with your neighbors taking away their kids, or any number of things. This thing's happening right now, and what are we doing? And what are we doing?
I thought about that. Like I said, I think the feds understand right now that they better not just go do what they did at Ruby Ridge and Waco. I believe there's some people in there that understand that, and they've got some pull and can prevent that for now. I did think about this, and I'll be honest with you, it would have been easier for me to almost to go up there than it was to come out here for certain reasons, which I won't even get into. But I think that I'm just praying that it comes out all right, but I had those same thoughts.
I appreciate you being here, and I invite everybody here to consider what we're doing here.
I might add to that you know, the feds got their chance right now to prove how sincere they are, for sure, on this one. Yes, ma'am.
Really been a beacon. I know that there are those of us that are doing what we're doing because of what happened to you. And I don't think that there would be the kind of heartfelt motivation and sincere desire to give up everything, knowing that you had to give up everything. And we're going to go following what you have done, and truly that is the inspiration. My question to you is, those of us or anyone that might experience what you went through, would you have any advice for us? Would you have any words of wisdom for us if anyone else is tested by a similar situation?
Statement there, ma'am.
If any of us are tested by a similar situation, do you have any advice or words of wisdom for us?
Words of wisdom? Huh? Just keep the faith. That's all I can say. That's all we had. Yahweh, you know, my wife and son and daughters, if the same thing happened tomorrow, they'd do it again. I know that.
Yeah, Randy, my question also relates to the situation up in Jordan, Montana. It seems, I think your story has to take a lot of the credit for the way that the total arrogance of the government is being expressed as subdued arrogance, or they're playing that. They're pretending that they're not acting in the same manner. And at the same time, it seems like there also isn't quite the public support because the media has been trashing these guys and trashing them. By the way, these guys they are Christians and they are patriots. And I guess the question I have is, how important do you think it is that the people get involved and get up there and just sort of monitor and watch the situation, because there's people that are saying, well, don't worry about it, the feds, we can trust the feds this time, don't get up there, don't create a nuisance. How important is the public support in this deal that's going on up there?
I don't know if they're going to know what happened here. And they know that those people in Montana have the support of the people here. Let's say we're loving them from a distance tonight. And they know that. I believe this, unless those people inside come out shooting, I don't think the feds are going to go in shooting. They're not going to do I don't believe they're going to do it, personally. If they do, What are you going to do about it?
Citizens of Nevada, I want to thank you for coming out here to our home state. And my question is, how are you dealing with the emotional pain caused by the legal system? And do you get any flashbacks? And how would you help or make any suggestions to other people that are going through similar situations right now?
My faith in Yahweh is number one, and a lot of support from other folks, children of Yahweh everywhere, that was supporting us, helped us, and that's what it is. I mean, I'm no Superman, believe me. I was hurting. I was heartbroken. And that's it. And that's all I can say about that. You got to get, you have to know Yahweh. You got to learn to love Him, and because He loves you.
Randy, I live at Coeur d'Alene, about 70 miles south of where your home was. Are you aware that the state of Idaho is, even though us in Idaho and across the country are waiting for Boundary County Prosecutor Randy Day to do his job 4 years later, we find it interesting that after a week's visit to Quantico, Virginia, he came back as though someone had him by the short hairs. We're hearing that the state of Idaho is considering bringing charges against you and Kevin. Have you and Jerry discussed this?
They've thrown up that threat for a long time. I'm not worried about it. They don't have a, I mean, if they did and they come up, they just have to come up with a brand new set of lies. That's all there is to it. They said they come up some new evidence. I'm going to tell you what, if there's any evidence that would incriminate us at all, it is total fabrication. No, I ain't worried about it. I don't think they're going to do that. That'd be stupider. I've heard this, I don't know if this is absolutely true, but I heard that Randall Day was told by a U.S. Marshal not to worry if he brought charges against these agents, because they would give him a guard detail of U.S. Marshals to protect him from the other Marshals that wanted to shoot him. That's fact. Randall Day hadn't got the guts to do it, period. I'll tell you that. He don't have the guts to do what's right in this case. That's just the way it is. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, what we're hearing is Idaho Bureau of Investigation has set up an office in Coeur d'Alene staffed by 4 people. So if Randall Day doesn't have the wherewithal to do it, or they have the goods on him, it may or could come out of the Idaho Attorney General's office. And it just suffice to say that I don't think there's too many people I know of would have the patience for the state to bring charges against you prior to any charges being brought against federal agents, because in our minds that's the next step. Thank you.
Randy, I appreciate your being here. You're showing a lot of strength, and it's wonderful. I want to put something out to you. I know you're trying to get your life back together again. It's tough. You got friends here, and you've said, you've counted on us, and we're there for you. I'd like to put something out to you in terms of Idaho, the state of Idaho. It's not considered a liberal state. I would put out the idea that you could maybe kick around with some of the people in Idaho about the idea of we need to change the power situation in this country in terms of education. And one of the things I think would be really wonderful to happen in Idaho as a result of what's happened to you is for you to work with other activists to everybody to take 1 or 2 classes at the community college, run a slate of candidates, take over a community college, start looking at the professors, find the professors that don't fit in, ask them to leave, bringing new people in, making some of these universities more responsive to us so that we can come up there and use these universities as conference centers, as places where people can feel safe, and using that model go to other states, Montana, Wyoming, Iowa, wherever it is, wherever we have the numbers, and literally start changing things by changing education and letting the politicians know that we're going to take charge of institutions. We're not going to let them dictate what the institutions are. I'm just putting it out there. I know you're dealing with a lot of stuff. Thank you.
Randy, the thing that bothered me is after the trial, when some lady on a jury was appalled as to the way that evidence was withheld from them, and she all of a sudden learned about jury rights and nullification, and I wonder if more of that has blossomed because of the tragedy.
I've got some good friends now that were on that jury. They've become friends, and they were very well educated in a couple of months, and they weren't stupid to start with. Real nice people, and they have gone on talk shows and talked to reporters and shared what they learned with a lot of people, a lot of places. They've educated a lot of people themselves. The jury that was at our trial, the jury members.
That's one of the lessons.
You bet.
Randy is the only Canadian here. Thank God we haven't had the same thing happen in Canada that happened to you and your family. But I wanted to ask you, or first of all tell you that being at the preparedness seminar last August in Long Beach, California, Bo read a letter that Sarah, your daughter, had sent to him. And it was extremely moving. I don't think there was a dry tear in the whole room. But I wanted to ask what's happening to your daughters and where they're at.
They're doing real good. You know, this is something you never forget, but time does help heal, and you have longer spaces where you can put your mind on other things and start to get on with life a little bit. My daughter Rachel, the first years that she was back and in one of them public schools, she could not concentrate on anything. She sat and daydreamed. She told me she daydreamed about this all the time. Sarah was a few years older and was able to pull it together and get into her homework and to help her keep her mind off of it. And then the second year when I got back there and Rachel, we moved up to Grand Junction, she got it together a little better, and she's doing real well now. She's an 8th grader, 14. She was 10 at the time this happened, and I hadn't known, after this all happened, we hadn't talked about it as a family until Jerry Spence and a couple of the other attorneys made us get together on a conference phone and talk. They asked us questions, and we talked back and forth, me and the girls, and that was the first time that we'd ever really gone through everything that we had seen together, and didn't tell each other, and that's the first time I found out Rachel had actually seen him shoot me and Vicki. I knew that she had to have seen Vicki get shot, and then I found out she'd seen me get shot just for that, and I sit and I think, man, you know, feeling the way I do about everything, I can't imagine what the little stinker was going through. But she's pulling through it real well. And the baby, I'd be sitting in the living room, and Elishba, 10 months, it was another 16, she was about 2, a little over 2 years old maybe when I come back and was with her finally. And I'd sit there, and she would, out of the blue, she'd start crying. She'd say, "Mama needs help, Mama needs help. Blood, she fall down, she fall down." She remembered it that far along. And, yeah, it was tough to take. And she'd come out of the blue with she was telling me, what she was remembering. And she's over 4 now. And I don't know if she has forgotten the blood part and Mama falling down and all that yet, but she cries for Mama. "I want my Mama. I want my Mama." She knows all her little friends have her mamas, and she doesn't.
Just know that we love your children too.
Pardon me?
Just know that we send our love to your children.
Well, they send theirs to you all too. Thank you.
Yeah, Randy, I was just wondering if in your prayers to Yahweh, if you've got any insight with what you feel He wants you to do with the rest of your life.
Right now, take it a day at a time, and as long as I got that little 4-year-old girl, and Rachel yet, be a parent, and that's about it right now. Take a day at a time as a parent. Yeah.
Bless you, friend. Can you give any insight to us as to the man that Jerry Spence has proved himself to be in your case, and as concerning the trend that's occurring in our country? Yeah, I'm sure you've had some interaction with him.
What type of man Jerry Spence is? Jerry Spence is a very compassionate man, very intelligent man. He can be hard-headed as a mule sometimes and give you a hard time if he wants to. But I don't know how I'd ever repay him for, helping me the way he did. There's no way I could. He's fun to be with when he ain't mad at you, I'll put it that way.
I wanted to ask a follow-up question, first of all, to the previous question that I have of my own. Do you believe that Jerry Spence truly understands what's going on in...
That I can't answer, to be honest with you. He saw what happened at Waco and Ruby Ridge. He saw that. And you know what he told me? He hated it. I can tell you deep down in his heart, he hated it. They burnt Waco out right in the middle of my trial, and I come back the one morning from jail, coming in to start a new day of trial, and Jerry looked at me and said, "Did you hear what you see on TV what they did at Waco?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "What do you think of that?" And he says, "It scares the hell out of me." And he meant it, and I was surprised almost that I said, "I'm glad to hear you feel that way, Jerry." And he does. He's a very compassionate person.
The question that I wanted to ask, and it might sound somewhat callous or crass, but we've all seen stories, horrific stories that have happened through the years. The Janine Jones thing about the nurse that killed babies, and then there was the burning bed. All of these terrible tragedies were brought to the mainstream, this wonderful media that we have, through the form of these tabloid television dramatizations that we have. People always end up profiting in some way by these terrible occurrences. I wanted to ask if you've been approached by any people of the media, and if you have been approached in the development of a TV thing or a movie or a book or something like that, would you certainly hope you wouldn't relinquish the final say on the script or the copy or the content of the book, the TV show, or the movie. I'm curious to find out if the media has approached you, and if you would try to maintain control over the story.
Yeah, I was approached when I was still in jail for the story. I was offered, like one Swan Company was offering me $1 million within 30 days if I'd signed exclusive rights to the story, and I turned it down. I've never taken a penny for anything, story or otherwise. I could if I wanted to.
The reason I ask is because I think that your story needs to be told, but it needs to be told in your words.
Right.
Not in the media's words.
Randy, again, we're all grateful you're here. I would like to share something with you because I think it will be important. You talked about your 4-year-old daughter and her remembrance. I have a lot of friends, and they're astounded by the fact that I remember back to when I was 9 months old. I never had the tragedy that your daughter has, but I remember. There comes a place of acceptance for things that you don't like, and she will come to that, but she will always remember. And so I would like to share that with you. You'd also realize that for whatever purpose, you have been placed in a very special position, and that you have been placed as an example for all of us to follow and to try to live up to, though that wasn't something that you intended or asked for, but you're there. My question is, how much are you willing to participate in events like this, to share with the people throughout the United States as we progress through this challenge and the challenges ahead of us? Because I feel that's important.
I'd hate to come out and say that, well, I'll do one of these a month for the next 2 years, you know. I'm a funny person. I may tell you I'm not going to do it today and tomorrow. I'll see something on the news that night, and the next day I'll say I'm coming out. That's the way.
I think that's important.
I like my TV because it keeps me going. Keeps me mad, you know. Lewis, I like to watch a little bit of news.
And I think that is something we all needed to hear, because we need to know that as we support you, that you also will support us as we go, because all of us have our own trials, and they're not as devastating as yours has been, but many of us are going through our own thing.
Tell you what, ma'am, I'll support any of you and all of you the best I can anytime. I'll go back to back with you anywhere. I love you all.
Thank you.
Hi, Randy. Just a couple of quick questions. Did Paul Harvey pay for Mr. Spence?
No, he lied about that. I wouldn't own a Buick.
How much of an onslaught were you up against up there? We heard all sorts of things like there were United Nations troops up there.
What's that now?
How much of an onslaught were you up against up there? We heard rumors like there were United Nations.
I never found out for sure. There had to be 300 or 400 of them. I heard as high as 2,000, and how much money they spent, I heard is everywhere from $4 million to $17 million. They flew, you know, the big jets that was way up in the sky. One day it was going around circling, it was like a big bomber type jet almost, and Sam and Vicky are out there. They go, Dad, they're taking pictures of the property. I said, no, they're not. Yeah, they were. They flew fighter jets over the house, vroom, real low, and they, you know, like at night. It was really cool. We'd look out the window south, and they'd turn them afterburners on or whatever. I guess that's what you call it. I don't know anything that much about jets. Sam told me what kind of jet it was because he was into that stuff. Whoa, and it's real pretty and everything, and maybe they were taking pictures of us when I saw that happen, see? And, but, you know, it costs some money to do that stuff. I know that. What's that? Yeah, we were pretty tough. Yeah. They better double their troops next time, I guess.
There's been a lot of, we read a lot of reports about your compound.
Complimentary?
Yeah, the compound, what was that compound built out of? What sort of,
Solid rock. Yeah. Yahweh was the rock. Yeah, it was just a 2x4 plywood little cabin. They like to call it shack. I'll call it shack. What the heck? They did say it was uninsulated. That was a lie. We had it insulated. But we paid for the land and spent the last bit of money we had to build the house, and we run out and didn't have a tin roof on it, so Vicki sold her diamond and put the roof on it.
Questions? Any more?
If some of the emotional parts, talking about the house and property, did you lose this property?
They didn't take it from me legally or anything. They had a lien against it until the $10,000 fine was paid that they levied against me as part of the sentencing. Of course, Bo Greitz took care of that with his friends in Vegas. They collected that in about 10 days, I guess, and paid that off, and so then they released the lien, and I sold the property to a friend with the rights to buy it back within 3 years, and I think that's what we're going to do.
Thank you for being here tonight. I might have lapsed into a time warp and not heard the answer, but it's still a little unclear in my mind why exactly they picked on you.
What, I heard stories about shotguns.
Okay. Like I say, I've thought about this all before. I was acquainted with some of the people that they apparently wanted me to snitch on. What was really funny about it was the guy they wanted me to snitch on, I didn't even like the guy. We would tolerate each other when we were around each other. But I'll be damned if I was going to go down there and set him up on a federal gun charge or something. And why'd they pick on me? They needed somebody, and I was available. This Magisano, or whatever the hell his name was, he was working for the ATF, and that Rico Valentino, anybody remember that piece of crap? He was working, I guess, you call it work? Can I call it work? No. He was snitching for the FBI, and the way I understand it, he was trying to get it set up where he could come up and start getting me involved in stuff too, see? And where are them guys anyway? I always wondered, does anybody know where they're at? Are they under a rock somewhere? I can't, I had heard rumors that people actually knew where Rico was. I think someone should go and lead him to the Lord or something. I'm dead serious about that. Save that poor guy. And the Magisano.
Hi. I'm one of the young Americans that understand what's going on in our country and can see that we need to do a lot of changing. And I was wondering if there's anything that you could tell me that I could do to help other young people like myself, help them understand what's going on and try to expose them or try to show them how to, or what to do to help change.
What you can do to help other young people?
Help other young people.
Study, educate yourself, be a good example. Knowledge is power, buddy. Always be, just be a good example and tell them what you understand and at least what you believe and why. You have to know why you believe what you believe. don't believe fairy tales and myths. And if it doesn't make common sense, don't jump in and do something with somebody else just because they say that's right. Yahweh give you a brain to use, and just use it. That's the key. Education and faith in Yahweh, and you're going to do all right.
And the second question, I was wondering if I could have the opportunity to shake your hand.
No, sure. It'd be my pleasure to shake yours. Thanks a lot. You bet. Good luck, buddy.
I wanted to know if any of your prayers are ever imprecatory, and if so, do you know if they've been answered?
If any of my prayers what?
Are imprecatory? Praying for the demise of your enemies or Jesus'?
Oh, thanks for educating me. Do I ever pray for the demise of my enemies? Hell yeah, that's fair. What's that?
Do you know if they've ever been answered?
I'm not going to answer that. Yeah, some of them have actually, but they didn't even, I mean, they're nothing personal, you know. Nobody's ever...
We don't need to know that. Anything else?
Yeah, well, I'll just ask from here. Randy, from your experiences with the people on Capitol Hill, do you think that they are really aware of the volatility of the situation that the nation stands in at present time?
You betcha. That's why they're passing the laws, and that's why they're slowing down in Montana. They're worried, and they're scrambling to do everything they can to slow this down. You bet.
Glad to see you here, Randy, and I want to talk to you for a long time. You have a lot more friends throughout the United States than you realize. And if you ever need a favor or need anything, and you know what a persecution I'm going under now, so get the word out what's happening to me, and if you need any help, just give me a call. You know how to get a hold of me.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
We had heard that at the closing of I think it was the closing arguments, that something had happened to the prosecutor in the closing arguments. Can you explain that?
During closing arguments at our trial, Prosecutor Ron Hohen had a little difficulty with his closing statement to the jury. He was, I don't know how far he was into his statement. To be honest with you, I can't remember. Not very far, I don't think, but there was some bunch of people praying that he would have a severe mental breakdown or emotional breakdown. Believe me, it worked. I was sitting, well, from about that far. I was sitting there watching him, watching his face, and he's reading this garbage off. And it was all of a sudden, it's like, you know, I've got spaced out before and forgot what I was talking about, but this was something else. He had notes, and he started shaking like this, and this went on for about probably a minute and a half to 3 minutes. I can't remember for sure, but the guy had a rough time, and absolutely, he said, "Your Honor, I can't finish this," and he excused himself, and they brought the other guy, Lindquist, up to finish it, I believe, if I remember right. I read it for him or something, but this guy just lost it. It was unbelievable.
Imprecatory prayer.
What? You're going to have to spell that for me, or write it down, because when people throw new big words at me, I like to look them up and make sure they ain't pulling my leg. It sounds good, though.
I happen to be fortunate enough to have home videos of what was going on at Ruby Ridge. And with all the equipment and stuff that they brought in, I thought maybe you were going to be about the size of that TV screen back there, because they sure needed a hell of a lot of equipment to try and knock you down.
Oh, yeah.
But I really don't have a question. I just want to know that I think you should be blessed forever.
Thank you.
And I hope that you will be.
Thank you.
Good evening. I've always wanted to hear your side of the story. Do you have anything to say in your defense as to your former neighbor's portrayal of you in Kirby Ferris's book, The Mountain of Lies?
I did not read that book. I heard some of the accusations against me, and they're not true. There was neighbors up there we didn't get along with, and I don't even know how to. I could talk to you a long time about this stuff. Part of it was neighbor ladies that were jealous of my wife Vicki. A lot of it was jealousy, period. And some of it was hatred against us and prejudice against us because of our faith and belief. You'd have to give me specific charges that they made against me, and I'd answer them, whether it happened or not.
I didn't want to go into details. There were so many accusations and stories.
Yeah, I heard a lot of the same stuff, I guess, in court. They brought some of the people in to testify against me, and all I heard was lies and garbage. What else can I say?
Well, thank you for elaborating on that. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
What's that?
I thank you for elaborating on that. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. I have a lot of enemies in the world, and some of them were neighbors up there. And that's about as far as that goes.
Thank you. Let's see that.
I'll add this. Some of this lying garbage that these guys put out helped get my wife killed, and my kid killed, and this whole thing come down. And that's it. I just wanted to add that,
God knows we've never had neighbors that didn't agree with us, right? Randy, how were you treated when you were incarcerated there? How would the guards treat you, and what did they think of all this?
First night they put me in the Boise jail. Second shift commander come in. They put me in medical isolation, they call it. They had 4 rooms for that because they said that I might commit suicide. And that really ticked me off because, if I was going to commit suicide, I'd have done it on the hill. I'd shoot myself. I wouldn't try and hang myself from a short bedpost. But I was missing the news. I couldn't have TV in there, and I wanted to watch the news. And they had me in there 4 or 5 days, and I couldn't watch it. And then I got out later. I heard that's what the sheriff had said. I was in medical isolation, so I wouldn't commit suicide. Is that stupid or what? But anyway, that evening, second shift sergeant, who was on duty that night, came in, and he was talked to me for about 5 minutes. They wanted to see where I was coming from a little bit, see how emotionally stable I was, I suppose. And he left, and it was pretty uneventful. The whole stay there, as far as anybody messing with me, guards or inmates. There's a couple incidents with inmates, and only one deputy ever give us Kevin and I had a hard time at all, and it wasn't that hard time. He just made sure we missed a meal once, and we knew he did it on purpose, but we complained about it, and it never happened again. But no, got along with the guards was fine, and the inmates were fine, and we got extra meals all the time. They were supposed to give us one meal at a time, right? Well, I'd get as many as a half a dozen, especially when we got a good meal. They'd come sneaking them in through the door to me, and I'd take them out after they opened the gates up, take them out, and the sheriff and everybody else, they enjoyed having us in there. But anyway.
You're a lucky man, and everyone here, I think, as you well know, blesses you time and time and time and again. And thank you for being here, Annie. Was it ever determined who signed the order originally for Ruby Ridge?
Who signed the order? For, you mean like, who signed the order to set me up, or to go to Ruby Ridge and arrest me, or?
Go to Ruby Ridge and bring in that whole force.
Well, you see, they arrested me on the original gun charge, you know, the phony broken down truck trick on the road, and I stopped to help the guy, and I could just take this story as something else. I'm going to get into a few lies right here. They set up this old camper on the road and put the hood up, and Vicki and I were coming down. We'd bring a snowmobile down about a mile to get in the four-wheel drive truck. Well, our first neighbor down the road, they was already snitching on us, telling us when they were going in and out, which at that time we didn't realize. But so we get in the truck and we head down another mile right there to where where the people all came and gathered at the end of where they had the county road and the blacktop met, and all the people, they had the vigil down there during the standoff. That first bridge right there, they had it blocked, this old truck. And so when we stopped, this lady comes walking toward the truck, and she says, I said, need some help? They had jumper cables coming off the battery, and I said, you need a jump? She says, no, I think my husband just wants you to help push it off the bridge. And I said, no problem. And I backed my truck over here a little ways, and I got out, and when I was walking up here, from the time I got out of the truck and went up there, I never saw what happened to Vicki behind me. But she told me later what they did to her. Walked up, and he was still leaning over the side of the truck. Here's the hood up like this. And I went to jump up on the bumper like this. Please, federal agents, get down, get down, get down, you know, that kind of stuff. You hear that before. And, of course, then in court, this son of a bitch, excuse my language, that arrested me that time. See, these guys are immune from perjury. This is sick. This is sick, folks. These guys can go to court. I tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Swear to God. I'm going to tell you what, there's many gods and many lords. There's only one Yahweh. And when they have the guts of, they can swear to God. They know, philosophy is a strange thing. And these guys have a philosophy that you have to start to understand. The truth is philosophical to these guys. Have you ever heard that? You know what that means? When you're in court, their truth is the truth. It don't matter what they say. Your truth is, it's not truth. They're right and you're wrong. Period. That's just philosophy. They have no faith. They don't think they're going to meet a maker and have to deal with justice later anywhere in the great court up above, right? Truth is just philosophical. Anyway, this guy gets in court, and by the time they sick the marshals on me, they had already changed their story, saying that I resisted arrest. 10 feet from him, I'm pulling my gun, coming down like this, and then I run at him and try to tackle him. What a crock of crap. I wish now I'd have shot the son of a bitch, actually. Excuse me, maybe I shouldn't say that. And this guy, what the hell was his name? Oh, it's been too long. I'd think of it eventually. But anyway, what'd you say? What? I'm getting old and deep. I'm sorry. But anyway, just one of the, and then they said that I said, when they grabbed me, they said, Randy said, you'll never trick me again, BS. I never said, I tell you what, I was scared. They had me fast, down, and dirty. You know how they can do it? My wife, they did the same thing to her. And now I'm not being no big tough hero. Oh, you won't trick me again. I'm not that type of person. I get scared pretty easy. Dave Hunt. Here's a name I remember. This U.S. Marshal. He was supposed to, he sending messages up with snitches and neighbors and everybody else up to try and coax me out of this place after I'd already decided, you know, we were staying home. He said, ask Randy what he wants. I said, I just want the truth. I want you to tell the truth and everything's cool. And that's when he sent the message back. The truth is, tell Randy the truth is only philosophical. So I sent the message back to him. I said, do you tell Dave Hunt? I said, if I believed that, I'd join your team and be the best damn snitch you ever had. Then Dave Hunt, he's in court against me. This is really, I love this. Dave Hunt, he'll never forget this either. Will you, Dave, wherever you're at? He gets in court, and Jerry Spence has got him. Most of these guys, by the time they got to court, they changed their story at least twice, and some of them 3 times. Dave Hunt, I don't know, I think it was twice. At the grand jury, he told them one story, and in court he told just the opposite. And Jerry Spence said, which time were you telling the truth, Mr. Hunt? And he sat there and he goes, both times. That's what I said, yes. The jury was confused for a long time. They admit they were confused, and they couldn't believe that typical good-hearted American people, they want to believe everybody is good-hearted people. And they started to see things, and the looks on their faces when he said that, yes. And they started to see, you know, it was great. There was thousands of lies told. It was great. Yahweh didn't let them work this time. Jerry Spence. He had fun with them.
In a world of changing truths, I know the truth and the way and the life. And Yahweh is the truth, never changing. All right?
Good point.
You see that if we're going to find life, we have to lay our life down. There's no greater love at the man as to lay his life down for his brother.
You have to be willing to lay your life down.
Willing to lay your life down for his brother.
Right.
And I want to read Revelation real quick. And when we opened the 5th seal, I saw beneath the altar the souls of them who had been slain because of the word of Yahweh and because of the witness which they held. And they cried out with a loud voice, saying, How long, O sovereign and holy and true, dost thou not vindicate and avenge our blood from them that dwell upon the earth? And there was given to them each one a white robe, and it was bidden them that they should rest yet a little while, until the number should be made full of their fellow servants also and their brethren who were about to be slain as even they.
Thank you. Okay. Back.
Now, I'd like to know if who, if anyone in the news media was your best supporter, if you had any supporters or anybody in the news media that was sympathetic or, you know, went out of their way to make sure that you didn't get slanted news coverage against you or anything like that. Anybody in particular that you could think
Right
of?
offhand, Paul Hall comes to mind.
Okay.
What's that?
I kind of meant anybody in the major news media networks.
This is major, buddy. No, I'm sorry, sir. I know what you mean. I don't know who wrote the best articles. There's a guy in Washington, D.C. by the name of George Lardner. I know who he is. I never met the man, but he's been pretty fair. And there's been a few of them that, you know, It's like the Fed. I believe there are a few people in the media that are good people, and once in a while they get away with doing a good thing, but if they're told to do something that ain't so good, they'll do it. Then they have to get out of it. They should come to work for Paul or one of these other newspapers, you know, forget the Times and all that, really.
By the way, Randy, that $50, I slid it under your door.
Thank you.
Yeah, Randy, you were a 7th Group engineer.
Right.
Right, demolitions?
Yes.
While you were up there to think about using it?
I wished I had some. At that time, I wished I had an A-bomb, and I probably would have took out North Idaho with my girls that said, push the button, Dad, they're all around us. And that's the truth. That's the way they felt. We was wishing we was sitting on an atomic bomb right then. When we knew that they was all out there and we heard what was going on, we was ready to, let's take them to the judgment seat.
I also want to thank you for coming tonight and for sharing your story. I do know a little bit what it feels like just to have atrocity against us. My husband spent a year in jail. We didn't lose any members of the family, but I just really would like you to, you know, if you are going to get more of the word out of, your wife sounded like she was such a wonderful person from the good things, that, you know, from the good papers that I've read about. And I just think that women especially, they need to know, they need to have that strong stance for the Lord, that they're able to stand up against things. And I think just knowing what type of a person Vicki was would help so many families and so many women. And just, you need to get the truth out of what she was really like and what she stood for.
We'll make that our last question. Okay, Randy?
You bet.
All right, take time.
I don't know enough good words to describe my wife. I'm easy. If she was here, they would be afraid because she could speak. I think they knew that. They were scared to death of her. Not because she could shoot or beat anybody with a stick, just because she knew the truth and knew how to spread it around. Yahweh bless all you folks. Thank you.
As we come to a close here, I would like to ask Bill if he would please come forward. And ladies and gentlemen, recently there was several awards handed out to the scumbags that murdered 2 members of Mr. Weaver's family. And the words just don't really there's a lot of words that come to mind, but they're not appropriate. So I'll refrain from that. But we're going to go one better. Mr. Bill Smythe from ICANN, Idaho, ICANN organization, has a few words. Welcome me, please.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I'd like to thank Paul Hall and the Jubilee. And Randy, I'd like you to come back up front. I want to shake Randy's hand. I know this is very hard for him to do. It's very hard for me to do, because I'm a neighbor of Randy's. I didn't even know Randy. And I've got to personally thank Randy for waking me up, because it was his situation that turned my light on.
And I bring greetings from North Idaho. After the presentation of the Medal of Valor to the federal agents who committed the mayhem and treason against the Weaver family and the American people for their masters and the paycheck that you and I, some of us anyway, fund through our taxes. There's been much discussion and disgust over the event. The main question that comes up is, what does this act mean? The answer is very evident if we just stop and think for a moment. It is the running of a flag up the flagpole which states, "We, the federal government and controllers of same, are at war with you, the American people, for the total takeover of your country and you, your person, and your mind. We may not have totally won the battle yet, but we have taken some of your lives, and you have failed to bring us to justice. Thus, you are allowing us to continue in our endeavor." This brings me to a quote from John Galsworth, an English novelist. Quote, "Our whole social life is in essence but a long, slow striving for victory of justice over force." Unquote. My question to you today, what have you done to bring justice and liberty back to America? Are you going to let the Weaver family and those like him be the only ones to refuse to bend the knee to bail? This was once the land of the free and the home of the brave. Where is your courage? G.K. Chesterton, an English author, said, quote, "Courage is almost a contradiction in terms. It means a strong desire to live, taking the form of readiness to die." Amen. And I think we all saw that in Randy Weaver and his whole family. That is to put your trust in Yahweh. He will give you the desire to live and to alert your fellow countrymen to these truths. Mr. Weaver and his family had this courage and has sacrificed much for our country to enlighten many people of the tyranny in the United States government. Thus, Idaho Citizens Awareness Network, together with all patriotic Americans across this nation, present this Medal of Valor to the Weaver family. And I'd like to share with you what this medal says on the face, and you should all see it, and I'm sure Randy will love to show it to you. Medal of Valor from Patriotic Americans. And on the reverse side says, "To the Weaver family for their contribution of awakening the American people to the tyranny of the United States government." Randy, you deserve this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bill. Who'd you say you was with?
Idaho Citizens Awareness Network.
Never heard of it. Sounds good, though. This is for my daughters.
These are little girls. These courageous little gals. But they got that from their mama. And they'll be ready to admit that their brother had more courage than they did and was smarter than they are, which I don't think is necessarily true, but that's what they tell you. On their behalf, I'll thank you all for this, because this is going to tear them up. Thank you very much.
First medal of the Revolution.
I might lose it. Thank you. And in closing, liberty. Liberty is always unfinished business. By this presentation, we, the people of America, accept the United States government's challenge and will stand courageously against the enemies, foreign and domestic, for righteousness, liberty, and justice. Will you stand with me today in this endeavor? Please stand up. And I would like to encourage all of you, if you haven't already, get involved in a patriotic citizens organization, because by numbers and education, we can put fear back into this government, where the fear really belongs, not in the people. Amen. Thank you.
Idaho, eagles gathered there together to guard the truth, so you might know down the road that followed Deep Creek, at the turn that crossed the bridge, federal marshals had the roadblock to mark the siege of Ruby Ridge. There the armies of the enemy slayed your bride and only son, and nearly killed your close companion as the shrapnel pierced his lung. We stand with you, Randy Weaver, 'cause your Lord and Savior lives. Wheresoever eagles gather, that is where Christ's body is. On that evening, late one August, you were forced to take your stand. There two strangers, as they trespassed, drew first blood on private land. Governor Anders, back in Boise, he let the enemy tell him lies. And for his anti-Christ decision, Sam and Vicky lost their lives. Federal agents, U.S. Marshals, and FBI men stormed the hill, all on false, fictitious charges, giving orders shoot to kill. We stand with you, Randy Weaver, 'cause your Lord and Savior lives. Wheresoever eagles gather, that is where his body lives. Though the armies of the enemy may surround us in the night, there's a host of heavenly angels hovering near, ready to fight. We stand with you, Randy Weaver. We are proud to call you friend. As we gather here together, we'll stand beside you till the end. We stand with you, Randy Weaver, 'cause your Lord and Savior lives. Wheresoever eagles gather, that is where Christ's body is. Wheresoever eagles gather, that is where his body is.